Shalom, Yashala, real quick. Yeah, I want to get more into this map stuff, you know, and like the Apostle Har said, know your maps and all that. And, there's a scripture, it's a lot, man. It's a lot of information. That's why they hid the truth from us. But let me get this scripture right quick, and I'll get in the blue letter. It says, Acts 13 and 1, it says, now there were in the church that was at Antioch certain prophets and teachers as Barnabas and Simeon that was called Niger, and Lucius of Cyrene, and Manaen, if I'm pronouncing that right, which had been brought up with Herod the Tetrarch and Saul. Now, I looked up the word Niger, and that's just what it is. Now, look how they pronounce it in they pronounce it as nigger pretty much.
Strong's G
Turn it up.
3526. Niger.
Nigger.
Niger.
Nigger. And what does it mean? Black. And Jake was called, and look, Latin origin black Niger, a Christian. So we're the original Christians. We're the true Christians. They flip the doctrine. They corrupted it like everything else. Now here's the world map, and here's Niger right here, right west of Africa. And then all these regions right here are melanated, dark-skinned people. Even places with apostle boys like Apostle Paul, Turkey right here. This is old Babylon, Iraq right here. Lebanon, here's Israel right here. This, our people were here, and here's Rome. So it's dark people. Now I wanted to get into that Russian-Ukraine thing too, because now here's Ukraine. Remember that Russian-Ukraine thing that happened, and people was like, it's racist. This is, they came out and says it's racism there, and they said their little piece, and then they disappeared. I mean, pretty much it wasn't anything said anymore. Well, even going back, and you got the Soviet, you got the Russian thing with the Ukraine thing. The old Soviet Union, USSR, I'm going to do a video about that. It was black people from America going to Soviet Union for a better life. There was this woman in New York City. Her son was in the Soviet Union, not the army, but he was living there, and he said I'm gonna have to read it when I do the video, but he said it's like a boiling hot water in a kettle, meaning it's hot. It's jobs out here. His mother moved there too, and she became a hairdresser because she was denied among white workers in New York City. So you had our people moving to the Soviet Union. But, it's not going to be too much of a shock difference, because they were already of our people, like we say, living in Ukraine. Some of our people still living in Rome, in Poland, and in Germany. And these are this is where our people were. Here's Italy right here. So Cornelius, with the Italian band, he was an Israelite. Here's Spain right here. Our people ruled Europe for 1,000 years. Parts of Russia until 1700s, as far as what I've read. So, and, it was the bottomless pit because they didn't have no resources. But when we got there, it was pretty much lit. You got the Moors in there, which would go back to Israelites. You had the coat of arms, which was us people. And we had so-called, you could see those pictures of the Moors where so-called white women are falling at their feet. They laying down, looking at them like gods. Here's Greece. And I could say I feel some of these words, like you got to go into words too. Some of these words go back to the things that were known, and it might be mixed into the culture, but I believe it had an effect. Those terms had an effect on some of the things we relate to today, as such as grease. The hair product grease. But I'm not saying that's what that means. I'm just saying you'll have little coded meanings that mean certain things relating to the culture of where we used to live. Here's Dan, which is the mark of Dan means. And look at all these. Now I don't want to get off the subject, but all those people on the sign are right in here. And then we always say the West Coast of Africa, of course, Nigeria, Mali, Sierra Leone, which they made a movie out of it. I think it was concerning the Diamond District, which is a good movie to check out. Liberia, Michael Jackson made a song, Liberian Girl. Ghana, Togo, you know, and a little bit, you could, a little bit scattered maybe north and south a little bit, but main core of is West Africa, and then of course, slave trade of our enemies coming against us, Spain, Portugal, and all that, and all these are our people, but our people are still over here and still in Iran, like it says in the scripture, was scattered among. Now, does China ever say that they have people in Brazil and Mexico and United States? No, because they're a nation over there. And India doesn't either, but we do have people amongst them. And then if they go to the Americas, they're going to end up in college. But if they did consider, living in America and they just didn't finish college or didn't pursue whatever they plan to pursue in America, they'll end up with Jake because of the spirit. I'm gonna hopefully do a video about Sri Lanka too. Our people are there too, and I'll show you some pictures of them. Now we don't go just solely off of the physical, but that could indicate a lot. So Russia is vast. So you pretty much, if you watch the Black Panther movie, when Black Panther do Chad, whatever, I forget, Chadwick or something like that, he was ruling. He was the Black Panther, but he started when he faced his enemy, which they showed as us, our people too. He started asking different regions of where we were ruling. That one guy, he was basically on a throne in another country. So, just to keep that in mind, that just because a lot of places were concentrated doesn't mean other places were void of operation. But look, Turkey right here. Then you have Armenia right here, which a lot of our people are Armenia. Like the lands have been, a lot of lands have been renamed and you know, and over cast, so to speak. You know, and to where when people take over, that land is no longer called. I mean, America was called the New World, but when they got here and conquered America, it became America. So, if you wanted to speak from terms before, I don't know what the Native Americans called it. You know, but if you wanted to go by those terms, then just like Jesus, that didn't America, the name America for America as a country didn't exist. Just like Jesus didn't exist before. So we don't go by America. And when we say America, when we given information, we'll tell you where it came from. America Vespucci. You can look that up. All right. So yeah, a lot of our people are still in Germany, Poland, still in Rome and Italy and all these places, man. Scattered all across the world, man. You know. Now you got Jordan right here. You got old Babylon. We were in Southern Kingdom, Babylon. So you know that it's likely we have a small portion of people in Ethiopia, but I wouldn't say that much because we migrate together. Like like let's say if there was an opportunity for black people in Canada and there's some reparations, best believe black people are gonna it's gonna be word of mouth and we're gonna say, well, we're gonna start moving like together. We're gonna be like, well, I'm taking my whole family there, or I got cousins and all that. So that's how we were moving. It wasn't no individual thing back then, and unless they separated us and divided us, with an army or war or whatever. So it's not so hard to believe that even though we were scattered, we were still together scattered, except the northern and southern kingdom, which the northern kingdom came over here first. So, but I think Paul said that some of the southern kingdom was over here, but this is the first place that we were oppressed together, because we are separate and separate oppressions under Assyrians and the Babylonians. So, and it says in the scriptures there, and there is that place that you will remember yourselves, and this is the place that they will be oppressed together. We wasn't oppressed together in Babylon, you know. So, um, yeah, just a little information. Ireland, means angry man, angry land. Ire means come from irate. You know. Then see, and then you got if you go real north, like North Pole, the cold regions, Iceland and all Esau, man, Caucasus Mountains, you know, and I think they show it on this other map, Caucasus Mountains. Let me see. Come on, right here. And we'll most high willing we'll get into that. I want to take this slow because I don't want to go off and shit. I want to keep it in perspective and gather information, and hopefully it'll be edifying. And see, this is the Caucasus Mountains right here. Let me get the camera on there with the hand. Caucasus Mountains. There go Georgia right there. Here's Russia, of course. This is the Middle East. There's Turkey, where Paul was. We ruled Europe, so you have and look at what's in Europe, Ukraine, and our people felt home there. Germany and Poland. You were like, how did black people get there? Did they take boats back to Ukraine, back to Poland, back to Germany? Did they take? Did the Russians say, hey, we'll take a fleet of y'all, every so and so, and next thing you know, you'd be thousands of y'all here, and y'all can have enough. It was already we were already a lot of us were already there, because those are the regions we dwelt when we ruled Europe. Some people say, well, it's getting hard here. We should go and flee. And some people say, no, I want to, just like that slave master stuff, so-called slave master. A lot of our people wanted to stay with the slave master, while a lot of people out wanted to take a chance to flee. So, this America ain't shit. This America was built for slavery. After they slaughtered our people, after they slaughtered Taino Indians, after they came, during the time of the Christopher Columbus thing, man. You know? And with it 70 AD from Rome, we fled. How you think they knew who we were? And they were funded by Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand. So they knew about the Israelites. And like I think Queen Isabella was a so-called black woman. And King Ferdinand might have been a Edomite. I don't know, but um, so fleeing to the west coast of Africa, we ended up in a lot of us ended up there, and even to the Americas. But they couldn't gather us all up like they didn't gather every Israelite up and put them on the ships, man. We were still a lot of places among these nations, man. You know, um, going back to the world map, then you see right there near Jordan and Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Kuwait, and you know, Yemen. All these things are mentioned in the Bible. Uh, you know, not all of them per se by name, but the important, what that speaks for the whole region, or that great part of that region is in the Bible. Arabia is in the Bible. Jordan is in the Bible. Iraq, old Babylon, is in the Bible. Um, you have so that when you had that Russia Ukraine thing, and black people popped up, black people were surprised over here, like, damn, what, where they come from, you know. But that's the part of it. Look, is right by the Rome. We moved those. You think Paul was a so-called white man? Nah, all these was melanated people. You know, if you went back and used the term the New World, which is relating to America, and you would go back to when the Native Americans here, you would say, no, well, that's a land filled with melanated people. You know, they may go back to the lost tribes of Israel, to the unlearned. But now that Edom is taken over and they show the image, so-called white face of America, and even with his name, America Vespucci, people say, nah, that that didn't they didn't live there. That's filled with the Edomites ruled that land. So-called white people ruled that land. You know, but then they'll be surprised at how many so-called black people, Native Americans, Latino people are here in America. You know, so we and Israelites they multiply quickly. That's what these devils. That's why they had that contraceptive thing in the '90s, and because they know how vast we are and how we multiply in the history. According to history, you know, we the sand of the sea. According to history, everywhere they went, they saw melanated people. Everywhere they went, they saw Israel. And all these captive lands, because you got to talk to the people. You got to keep up with the leaders of the lands that you're dealing with, because they could be a threat. So you got to keep up with them. You got to meet with them. You got to, presidential meetings, elections, whatever, Congress, what do you call it, the Senate, the Prime Minister of so and so. Esau know that. So, going back to the Russian Ukraine thing, yeah, black people pop their head up and like, yeah, it's racism over here. But, going back, like I read in that, which I'm going to go into, deeper most high will, in the Soviet Union, they welcomed a lot of so-called black people because, and here's, I'm going to show you one picture that it's a photograph of Soviet politician Grigory, I don't know how to pronounce that last, Jamaican writer and poet Claude McKay, and Soviet politician Nikolai Bukharin in Moscow in 1923. And he looked like he's doing fine. Like he's no oppression. Like I said, they were moving to Russia to escape the oppression from America. So Most High divided. There was already Most High was already dividing things, man. Anyway, and I told you about the 1920s. They called it the Roaring Twenties when you know you had the Harlem Renaissance, Chicago Renaissance. You had Black Wall Street. You know, you had what do you call that? You had right before that, uh, you had right before the Great Depression. Or during around the same time, 1930s or whatever, 20s and 30s. Then you had the Hitler thing going into the Hitler thing into war. And what did Hitler say? He said America don't know what they got God's Jews in their hand talking about so-called black people because he know black people, a lot of them Germans, a lot of them people on the other side know the so-called black man is the Israelite. I mean, is Israel along with the other tribes, of course. I'm just saying, you know, um, but they know. So what do they do? What do they use Hitler for? Characterization and cult of personalities with the mustache to make people fear that he had a bomb or some kind of high tech weapons and shit to go and take over Palestine to get into Israel, and now Israel becomes a so-called state by 1948 because they was worried about us taking Israel over again, like because it's prophecy that we would Most High would take us back to our land and get these devils out. A bastard shall dwell in Ashdod, you know. But they know prophecy, so they keep up with things, man. And after that, not too long after that, let's say 1950, and then into the short of the 60s, Albert Bivens pop up and separate from those basically those rats, so to speak. You know, and they really fit. That's why they paid the Muslims. I don't know. I don't know the backstory of that, Salakia, but apostles told a short story about Muslims jumping them, and they probably got paid by the some elite workers or whatever. But anyway, uh, so yeah, I want to get in more into the map stuff, map thing, and locations, and because Jake got to understand how this all unfolded. He got to understand like this wasn't no magical fairy tale BS. This was due to diaspora, migration, fleeing from oppression, going to other lands that were more job promising. Um, a lot of Jakes moved to Canada for because they have free medical. The same way they did back then. They probably moved to Iran or some places because Jake can move around for anything. I mean, you got the passport brothers. Jake can move around for because there's beautiful women there. They might have visited. They might have went to the army and visited Iran and India, North Korea, and they said, "Damn, there's some pretty ass women here. I'm staying here." And then they have children, and Jake have about pop out 4 or 5 children. Next thing you know, it's a gang of Jakes in India and so forth. So, yeah, go back and peep that Ukraine. I mean, it's an old thing now, and it's still it's still fairly hot. But as far as that racial thing that popped up there, uh, and those are some of the things that I mean, a lot of the things, most of the things that these nations are dealing with is old beef. Like Esau and Jacob today, that's old beef. A so-called white man and so-called black man. That didn't start on the grounds of America with Ku Klux Klan and all that, and skinheads and all that. That started. That's an old beef that goes back to the womb of Rebecca. That's Esau and Jacob. And even the lands, when we try to go through the land and Esau wouldn't let us pass through. Things of that, you know. The Romans, 70 AD, you know. The Atlantic slave trade, um, and the oppression under uh, these Edomites wherever you go, especially in America. But I just wanted to point out that yeah, black people were moving from America to Russia uh, for better opportunity, job opportunities, you know, better housing and all that. So that's probably a little secret. That's probably why they didn't keep them on out there that long. The news is editing all that because they don't want nobody to know a lot of this stuff, man. Cause Jake, if it was, and I'm gonna say this last thing, um, and hopefully, I'll mention some scriptures. So, but I'll mention more next time. If Jake, if it was reparations and Jake was getting paid, 60,000 a month, for 7 years or whatever, in Canada, it wouldn't be. It wouldn't really be no black people. The new black state would be Canada. It wouldn't. It wouldn't hardly be no people left in the United States as far as so-called black people, Latino and Native Americans. You know. So that's what they know. That's why they keep Jake on this chain with gifts and promises of reparations. But shit, Jake will move somewhere quick. Don't get it twisted. You know, he might they that all that lazy shit they was talking about. Nah, if Jake know it's an opportunity somewhere with women or money, better jobs and all that, free medical care and free and reparations, he's moving there. Passport brothers. That's only concerning women. So if it's concerning money, they definitely moving. So they moved to the Soviet Union. They moved to, you know, and I'm pretty sure a lot of them. And they're in Ukraine, and still in Rome. They're still in Poland. Black people. They're still in Spain and France. You know, and that's they under oppression under the beast. That's part of the seven heads of the beast. You know, but they still experience racism. They still experience, but some of us live a little bit better than others, even dealing with racism and oppression. Right here in America too, there are some Jakes that live fairly well here. But overall, that's when the shit goes down, you know, it's gonna crumble, and they're gonna have to, you know, it's gonna get dire situations, you know, because they depending on this man to run the system forever, and while they continue to progress in education and money, and jobs and money and all that, and most I ain't gonna allow that to happen. Anyway, hope it was edifying show.